before AI exploded into the world and everybody is on Chat GPT and talking about it, AI has been in applications for many years. It's been in development uh, since the 1930s, at least. It's not new, but it is rapidly expanding. So we're just going to talk really quickly about what it is. What is AI? How does it kind of work? And then we do have a guest that's going to talk to us about her experience putting AI into an application. So real quick, this is how generative AI works. So you put a prompt in. So you go to Chat GPT and you put some words in. Those words then get tokenized and they get turned into numbers, basically. That, let me see, do I have that? Yes. So we'll talk about it this way. So you put in your input, it tokenizes, which basically takes those words and breaks them into chunks that are then turned into numbers. Those numbers are then run against all of the data that your AI has been trained on. So as an example, ChatGPT has been trained on the entire internet up to about 2021. And I think I just read that they're updated that now, so it's even current. Anyway, whatever data your AI is trained on, it looks at all that data and it does a probability analysis. So it uses math to determine what it should give you as an answer. So in this example, if you typed in, what is the next word in this blank, it's going to take that, it's going to go through all of the data that it's looked at before, and it's going to say, okay, these are probably the likely words that it wants me to spit out. What is the next word in this conversation, phrase, thread, string, sentence? Sentence is probably the most common one. So that's what the robots are going to give you. So they're going to spit back sentence as what is the next word in this sentence. So that's really an overview of how it works. AI is not smart in itself. It's actually kind of dumb, but it's doing math and it's looking at patterns and it's determining what it thinks we want to hear. So it's very basic. That's at this very basic level. So you're putting an input in, it's analyzing against all of the data that it's been trained on, and then it gives you an output that is the most probable thing that it thinks you want to hear. And then repeat. So the thing I want to just plant in your brains today is like, everybody's kind of talking about Chat GPT. That is text to text. So if you see this list here on the side, these are all the things that you could put into artificial intelligence to process. So right now, ChatGPT is doing text. It analyzes it. It does the probability, and it spits out text. There is such a thing as multimodal AI, which is different types of data that come in and go out. So we've had kids develop apps that take in pictures. They analyze a picture, figure out what it is, and then give out information based on what it thinks that picture is. We had a team last year that developed an app that used AI to determine if garbage that was coming in should be recycled or not. We had a team build an app that used AI to tell you, it could scan barcodes and tell you if your clothing has microplastics in it so that you could make better decisions about what you're purchasing or wearing. There's different things that you can put in to give you different outcomes. And eventually we're going to be in a place where we're going to be using AI to process all sorts of different things. It's a progress that we've been making, like I said, for almost 100 years, but it's very much accelerating and rapid. I am going to introduce Candace. Candace is from Amazon. She's a senior solutions architect.
I'm going to just kind of talk to you about a little bit about my background, just a little bit. I know we're here to talk about AI, and I want to show you a really cool thing that I built last year. So my project was called Describe for Me, and I worked on a team. I didn't do this all by myself. We all pretty much always work on a team. And I currently work at AWS, Amazon Web Services, as a solutions architect, which is a super fun job. So just so we can kind of get started, I feel a little bit weird just looking at you on a screen. I wish I could be with you in person. I will be there a different time, I think. But I just want you to know a little bit about me as we kind of get this started. So first of all, I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. My daughter, Aubrey, up here just started at the U, majoring in electrical engineering. I call that a win. Here she is with her boyfriend. And so just moved her into the dorm. My daughter, Ariana, here is big into soccer. She plays on a premier soccer team with the Special Olympics and gets to play at Allianz Field once or twice a year. So that's really cool. And this is my son, Dax. He's 15, a sophomore, and, he's a goofy boy. If any of you have brothers, or I'm sure you go to school with boys. So that's a little bit about my kids. My background, like the way that I got into my job and things like that. I'm originally from Texas, and now I live up here in Minnesota in the Twin Cities. I actually live in White Bear Lake. So originally I'm from Wichita Falls, Texas, way up here. And I also lived in Austin, Texas for about 5 years or so. I went to college at a place called Midwestern State University, and I got my bachelor's degree in math and computer science. So I love that kind of stuff. I love AI. I think it's super fun. Anytime we can kind of quantify and do some math equations, it makes me really excited. And then computer science really helped me with the software development sort of skills. And I ended up actually getting a master's in computer science also. And then I worked at 3M for about 10 years. So I had 4 different jobs at 3M. It's such a huge company. You can move around all the time. And I really like the mission and what they say the effort of 3M is, like 3M science applied to life. So there's always different problems that they're trying to solve. And one of the coolest things that I worked on that was really commercialized and is used today is this thing right here called the Clean Trace Luminometer. So I worked mostly on this thing and sending data over to the web. But this thing right here is the luminometer. And what it does is it actually measures cleanliness in a hospital. So it has some special chemistry stuff, go figure, it is 3M. And then it can measure how clean surfaces in a hospital or on a certain medical instrument. It can measure how clean that is. So that's a way to help people stay healthier. I also worked on projects within personal safety. So making sure that people who are climbing at big heights don't fall down, things like that. So a lot of different things that I did there at 3M, including one of my favorite things probably was being a mentor for the 3M Young Scientist Challenge. So when I met Val and she was talking a little bit about your program, it reminded me a lot of that. So the Young Scientist Challenge, if you don't know, is a national competition where 10 kids, I think 6th grade to 8th grade, come up with some awesome, amazing idea that can help improve lives. And then they're partnered with someone at 3M who can like kind of mentor them and help them make their idea a real thing. So that's something that I did 3 times and I loved it. It was so fun. Also worked at Medtronic for a year. So Medtronic was also a very cool place, makes you feel really good about the work that you're doing. So the group that I worked in made pacemakers and defibrillators. So I got to learn a ton about how the heart works and how you can read EKGs. And really, you feel really good about knowing that the work that you're doing is helping people stay alive and improve their quality of life. So I just kind of wanted to, I know that you guys are looking for projects to solve and like, what are the problems in the world? So I wanted to make sure we talk a little bit about some problems that I've helped solve. So now I work at AWS. This is actually my dream job. This is my favorite job. I'm a solutions architect, which means I work with people, companies who use AWS, and I help them use it as best they possibly can. So I make sure that they're using the right services. We have like 200 services, and make sure that they're doing it in the right way. So I just help them. I'm kind of a trusted advisor to our customers. I also am very involved in a thing called She Builds. So we call it AWS She Builds Tech Skills North America. And we have a show that goes on Twitch and YouTube at least every other week. And what we do is we bring in people who are using AWS, mostly women who are using AWS, and talk about their business problem they're solving and how they solved that using our different services. So I'm really passionate about encouraging girls and women in STEM. So that's a little bit why I'm here. And that is also why I'm involved with She Builds. Little side notes on things that I like to do. I also love to study and learn new things. So a thing that I'm working on is getting all of our certifications. So AWS, this is kind of, you can't say it very well. That's okay. We have 12 certifications in different areas, and I'm trying to get all of them. In fact, I'm going to take another test on Thursday this week, the DevOps Pro certification. I already have 8 of these certifications, so I'm really getting close. And when you get them all, you get this terrible gold jacket, which I'm obsessed with for some reason. However, because I don't think there's any other girls that have this, I have not seen any other girls that have all of the certs. I'm actually asking for a pink one. So I'm going to get a rose gold tacky terrible jacket, and I can't wait. That's my goal. I was going to try by the end of the year. We'll see if I can get them all in by then. So a little bit about me and why I'm excited to be talking to you guys today. So now I want to talk to you about a project that I worked on. So I get to help my customers. I get to study a whole lot, and that is really fun. But a thing that I kind of miss that's in this job as a solutions architect is building stuff. So I built out that clean trace luminometer. Like I built a lot of things in my past, and now on this job, it's not part of my everyday job. So I look for opportunities to build stuff. And one of them that we built is called Describe for Me. And so I worked with a team last year to build this, and we then got to show it at Builders Fair. So at our huge conferences, the hugest one is called reInvent, and it's in Las Vegas every year. So it's a whole set of fun there. We have this thing called Builders Fair, and basically we take our like hackathon type of projects, little side projects that we've built, and we get to show them at this little conference expo hall. And so all of the 30,000 people that go to reInvent can come through and learn a little bit about what the solutions architects are building. So with Describe for Me, I will show you how it works, and we'll dive into a couple of the services as well. But with Describe for Me, I think it's really important to start with the problem that we're solving. And that is really to help people who have visual impairment to better experience and see their environment. The way that this came about is I have a friend who works in Chicago who is a solutions architect as well. And he has visual impairment. Like he has I forgot the name of the disease, but it's a degenerative disease where his retina cells don't regenerate. So for us, we lose retina cells every day and then they regenerate. And it's like a constant recycling of those cells. His don't come back. So when he was younger, he could see. By the time he was about 12, he had night blindness. And now he's mid-40s or something like that. And he, just as of a couple of weeks ago, is officially considered legally blind. He walks with a sight cane. So when we go on trips together, which we do quite often because we work together a lot, I kind of help him around and make sure he's not, walking off the sidewalk and things like that. And I also, quick little plug for Jack, my friend Jack, he's also amazing. He's blind. He has my job, which is kind of a hard job. And he writes Christmas movies that are on Hallmark. So he's written movies that are now on Hallmark. He also does horror movies. So Christmas and horror, I don't know. He's a very, very interesting guy. Super smart. And I really like to work with him. So he's the one that came up with this idea. And I got to help him implement it. Specifically, I got to do the model part, the machine learning model. And so I'm going to show you a demo of it now because I think that's more fun. So here is our website. You can go here as well to describeforme.com. And what we do here is we have these pictures that you can upload. For the demo, we have a few set pictures so that we can make sure people aren't uploading inappropriate content or anything like that. So we did have to kind of put some bounds around this, but you can upload a picture just like this. And then you click this button that says describe. It does take a minute, and we can talk about why. And then hopefully you can see this. It returns a caption right here that says, a tabby cat curled up in a fluffy white bed. That's cool for me and you, but how about Jack? Well, we can also play that back like this.
A tabby cat curled up in a fluffy white bed.
I don't know if you can hear that. I hope you could hear that. There's a play button, and we can make sure that that is actually said out loud. We can also change the language. We could have it say that in Spanish instead. Let's see how that goes. So if we pick Spanish up here, un gato, okay, so I'm learning Spanish, but I'm not very good at it. But this is definitely Spanish. Let's see how he says it.
Un gato atigrado acurrucado en una cama blanca y esponjosa.
Ta-da! I hope you could sort of hear that. If not, you can go to describeforme.com and see it for yourself. And then I also wanted to show one other demo that's kind of my favorite. So this one, I'm in this picture right here. And when we do this describe, this one says, people, I'm just going to read it to you because I'm not sure if you can hear the captioning.
Candace, we can hear them.
You can't?
We can. Yes, we can.
Then I'm going to let Polly go. Here you go.
People in front of the Amazon spheres. I recognize 3 people, Jack, Canbo, and Iman.
So I think this one is amazing. So we used a model in the background. Remember, I picked the model. I packaged up that model. It's called containerizing the model, and I deployed that model. So now it's an API endpoint that we can hit just like ChatGPT or whatever your favorite large language model might be. What I think is so awesome about this is that I didn't train it. I just found this model. I'll tell you more about that. And I just containerized it and deployed it. I didn't train it though. And it knows that this is the Amazon spheres. I'm going to imagine not everyone in the room right now knew that this was the Amazon spheres. I think it's super cool too that it recognizes us. So here's me. Here's my friend Jack. You can see him with his sight cane. And then this is one of our interns who is now a solutions architect at AWS as well. And his name is Iman. So I just think that this is really amazing that not only can it recognize land, like the spheres and certain landmarks and things like that, it also recognizes our faces. So I think that's super cool. There's also this other picture of me, just real quick. This is my LinkedIn profile picture from like 10 years ago. I probably should update it. But this one is cool too, because it says a woman in a green blouse and black cardigan smiles at the camera. I recognize one person, Canbo. Should have probably explained that. So Candace Bohannon becomes Canbo. So my email at work is canbo@amazon.com. And people just call me Canbo. It kind of has become my nickname. So because anyways, so anytime this recognizes me, it returns it as Canbo. So that is what I built. Generative AI model, large language model in the background, and we're doing image to text. So back to that multimodal sort of thing. I also think image to image is a whole lot of fun. I could show you stuff like that if you wanted. And we got our project published as a blog. So in addition to having that website where you can go see it, we also have this blog published, and I will share the link with you later as well. And it kind of describes exactly how we're doing all of these sort of things. So now what I want to do is kind of like reveal what's behind the curtain. Like, how did we do that? So let me pop back into here. So this is my bread and butter. This is where an architect lives. This is the drawing, like an architecture drawing of what is actually happening to build that application. So where we were kind of interacting, you could kind of tell it was built for a mobile application. So the idea is our Jack or whatever visually impaired person has a phone with them, and they can take a picture and then hopefully click the buttons and all those sort of things, and then interact with what's with that application. So we're going to take a picture and we're going to put it in a thing called an S3 bucket. So we're just going to send that picture up to the internet, and then it hits an API endpoint. You will probably learn about API endpoints, but anytime you go to a URL or any place on the internet, it's an API. So I love APIs and could deep dive on that one as well. But here's where we're going to kind of focus for today, because that's more of the actions that are happening there in that application. So you could see that it recognized me and Jack and Iman. It would also recognize the other people from our team as well. It can recognize the image. You saw the translations that were possible, and poly. Poly is the part that is used to actually to speak it out loud. So we run through these in parallel so that it goes a little bit more quickly. It's kind of slow, but it goes through it in a decent amount of time. And I think I'll just go to the next couple of slides. So some of the key things that are happening behind the scenes there, we have Amazon recognition, and that does facial detection, object detection, and text. You don't have to know anything about machine learning. You can just send it an image within the AWS console. I'm going to give you a few links later, but you can just send it an image and it can automatically recognize a few things. What typically comes back, like if it was to take a picture of me right here, like this screen that we have right here, it would probably just say like woman, 70% sure, or whatever. I think maybe more sure than that, but it would only tell you what it thinks it sees and how probable it is. So remember Val was talking about like they wanted to fill in that sentence, and they're like, most likely, what is the next word in the sentence, right? That's the most probable thing. So with recognition, you do have to do a little bit of development to start to figure out what exactly is in the picture. So it wouldn't see, for example, that I have an AWS shirt on. It wouldn't, it would know that I had glasses on, but it wouldn't return that in like language, like in a easy to understand sentence, like the large language model would. So ChatGPT or the model that I used and deployed within that application would probably say something like a woman wearing a white shirt, a white AWS shirt, and glasses, I recognize Canbo, or something to that effect. So it would be much more natural sounding rather than woman 70% or something. But recognition is really powerful. It can also detect face liveness. So that way we can make sure that a person is really a person instead of like a deep fake. Deep fakes are pretty hard to detect, and so it doesn't always do super great, but it's like think about in Minority Report when they're doing a retina scanning type of thing. Like you wouldn't be able to just put a picture of my face up and then have that recognize me. Like it would have some kind of indication that this is not a live person. This is like an image of Candace. Recognition can also be used to detect like different types of content that you don't necessarily want to go out. So just content moderation. So we don't have like bad words going out. We don't have nudity, any kind of like that inappropriate content. Recognition can help filter that out. And then if the built-in stuff isn't enough, you can also create custom labels. And that means you develop your own, you actually just point recognition to what you want it to learn, like maybe a specific logo, like you want it to recognize the AWS logo or Nike or something like that. You can train it to recognize those specific things. So you can use it right out of the box, and you can train it to be even more specific for your use case. Another couple of services there that I think are super cool and worth calling out is Amazon Poly, which is the part that speaks it out loud for you, and Amazon Translate, and that is the part that does all of the language translation. So like Google Translate, Amazon Translate, kind of the same-ish thing. I don't know if any of you do Duolingo. I do. That's how I'm learning Spanish. Just barely.
We had a couple.
A couple. Good.
Yep.
Well, that Poly and Translate, that's kind of the engine behind Duolingo. So I think that's pretty cool. So they're using some of our services to help you learn a new language. Oh, I forgot links here. That's okay. And then kind of the workhorse behind it all that's really doing the magical part, in my opinion, with the large language model and the Gen AI pieces of it, that is SageMaker and Hugging Face. So Amazon SageMaker is really the key piece within AWS that people use for building, training, and deploying machine learning models. We have various different sets of functionality and features within SageMaker, and you can actually play with it for free. So there's something called Amazon SageMaker Studio Labs, and it's really intended for educating people. And you can go right here to get to it and get your hands on and start to build and train your own model. And then Hugging Face is one of our key partners, but Hugging Face on their own is just super, super neat. There's just tons of models, like thousands, probably in the 5 digits, if not 6 digits, of machine learning models that are just there, kind of like GitHub, if you're familiar with like GitHub and all the repositories you can find there. Hugging Face has just tons of models and data sets that you can use to train your own models and even fully built applications. So Hugging Face is key because that's where I found the model. So I just dabble in machine learning and data science. Like, I'm not really a data scientist, I'm much more of a developer. But I was able to go find a model on Hugging Face that is called One for All, or OFA, and it's a multimodal model. And I was able to go and get that model and download it and put it into my SageMaker Studio and deploy it that way. So it was trained on like 30 million data points or some huge number. And that's what actually gives the more natural sounding, like, I recognize people in front of the Amazon spheres instead of just being like 4 people or something like that. So really the large language model, generative AI, is really the part that makes this way more personable and just really cool. And I found that on Hugging Face. You can go to Hugging Face, I think it's huggingface.org. No, I bet it's huggingface.com. I don't remember. Google Hugging Face, go there, and you can kind of explore the different models that they have available. And there's usually a place, at least on the bigger ones like Stable Diffusion and things, they have like a little stage where you can interact with that model without having to download and deploy it. And so then I just wanted to leave you, I'll send these slides over to Val. I'll update just a couple of links, and I'll send these slides over to Val so that you can send them out to everybody. But here's a few links that I wanted to make sure that you know that you can go here and learn more about some things. First of all is the SageMaker Studio Labs. I mentioned that one already. This is for free, and it's an education type of area where you can get hands-on with SageMaker machine learning capabilities. We also have a couple of specific resources for students. They're really intended for ages 14 and up, or 13, something like that. So it might be a little bit difficult for some of you in the audience, but this is intended to be for like our first generation of people getting their hands on with AWS. And so that is called AWS Educate and AWS Spark. So if you want to go there, then you can start to go through some training materials and learn more about AWS specifically, maybe work towards a certification. And then the last link that I wanted to make sure to share with you is the link to the blog. I think that's pretty cool. And so you can go and read that for yourself if you are interested. And then throughout that presentation, there's links to the different services that I called out. So
awesome.
That's all I've got.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have questions for Candace? Any questions about any of the stuff she just went through or talked about? No? All right, we'll make sure we get those resources from you, Candace, and we'll share them with everybody. I'll put them into the slide deck that we're sharing today.
Excellent.
So, thank you so much for walking through that with us and sharing all of your resources.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.